The Land Rover Defender name has had quite a long history across the globe. However, here in the States, we haven't seen this nameplate since 1997. I'm at the 2019 LA Auto Show, and this very important model is the completely new 2020 Land Rover Defender. Let's take a first look. So with a vehicle name as iconic as the Defender, the design is going to be a really important aspect. And as you can see, Land Rover really hit it out of the park with this all-new version. It will appeal to a lot of the faithful for this vehicle because of its heritage-style front fascia that kind of blends with a lot of modern aspects of this vehicle. Now you can see the front-end design is unmistakably Land Rover with those boxy design elements, these full LED headlights with the halo ring LED daytime running light, this really chunky front fascia with its low approach angles and departure angles and breakover angles. Because remember, a vehicle like this is supposed to be incredibly off-road capable. In fact, Land Rover says you should be able to ford water up to 3 feet deep when you guys have the air suspension set in its highest setting. Now, at launch, the Defender will be offered in two different grades here in America. The P300, which has a 2-liter 4-cylinder with about 296 horsepower. This particular one here is the P400, so it has the same 3-liter turbocharged and supercharged inline 6 with about 395 ponies and 406 pound-feet of torque. Land Rover says that motor will get you to 60 in around 5.8 seconds. You'll be pairing with an 8-speed ZF automatic. 4-wheel drive, of course, will be standard with that low-range transfer case. Now, just like the original Defender, this vehicle will be available in two different sizes. The base 90, which is a 2-door version, which has a wheelbase of around 102 inches long. This one here is the 110, which means it has the longer 119-inch long wheelbase. It has 4 full-size doors, and it has a 3rd-row seat. Land Rover says this has kind of a 5-passenger seating configuration with 2 extra seats at the rear. Now, the wheels for this one here are massive. They're 22-inch wheels wrapped in 275 width tires. Now, I imagine a lot of owners who are going to be taking this thing off-road probably won't want wheels this big, but it's very much in theme with everything else in today's marketplace with this flat matte paint with the black wheels. It's one seriously attractive looking SUV that will go head to head with things like the Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon and of course the Jeep Wrangler. Now, this one here with the standard suspension height has around 11 inches of ground clearance. You can jack it up to nearly 12 inches of ground clearance, which is again very important when you're looking at an off-road capable vehicle like this. Now from the rear, this thing looks a lot like a concept car. In fact, it's a very distinctive looking car. My favorite feature is this exposed rear spare tire that is mounted on the back, kind of like a Jeep Wrangler. The very square rectangular shape, these LED taillights, the tow hooks that are painted in red. This is one seriously rugged looking SUV that will do really well when it does go on sale. Now, opening up the cargo area, you can see it's got a side hinged rear door. And surprisingly, there is a good amount of cargo space. Now, Land Rover says the 4-door model offers around 35 cubic feet of space with the seats up. If you fold them down, this looks like it has around 70 cubic feet of space, although they didn't have final numbers yet. I love the fact that everything here is very rubberized, so you could easily hose this down. You can put muddy things back here, and you're not going to worry about dirtying up your fancy, expensive carpet in your Range Rover. So its retro design on the outside is carried over into an interior that feels a little bit more modern, but also a lot more utilitarian. The fancy leather and wood that you get in a Range Rover has been replaced with a slightly more durable looking interior, but there still are some nice materials in here. You can see this one here has stitching on the dashboard here. You have this really cool storage here along with these grab handles here. The upper part of the dash is kind of like a soft touch injection molded plastic. There are the typical Land Rover screens here. This is the InTouch Pro control with a 10-inch display. You have a full 12-inch digital display over here. There's a lot of exposed screw heads. There's some real leather. There's some silver painted plastic. There is some wood, looks like wood down here on the center console. The shifter is also interesting because you find this same shifter in like a Range Rover Sport, but it's mounted in a really interesting position where it has that electronic shifter where you can pull this trigger here and go into reverse and then back for drive. The display here is very similar to the other Land Rovers I've shown you, where it does have Apple CarPlay, but no Android Auto. You have their full 360 camera. You have the weight sensing. You have all the off-road tech features that you kind of expect with a vehicle like this. And overall, in terms of the space, I'm noticing that you sit up very high. The seats are very comfortable. You have this very low dash, these very square side mirrors. It almost feels like I'm in something that's blending the aspects of a Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon with a Jeep Wrangler, but it's kind of throwing in that unique British charm. So overall, I'm really liking the interior feel, and I'm glad that Land Rover decided to go with a more utilitarian approach as opposed to the luxury approach that you get with the Range Rover. Getting into the back seat of the new Defender, you can see with this much ground clearance, this one doesn't have any running boards. Short people like myself have trouble getting in. But once you get back here, there is a surprising amount of space in this 4-door model. I'm actually impressed with how flat the floor is back here. I have a crap ton of legroom. You have rear seat vents, you have climate control settings, you have 2 USB ports. So again, the old Defender left the States because it didn't offer airbags. There's no safety features. This new one here has been completely brought into the 21st century, and there are some interesting touches. The panoramic sunroof lets in a lot of light, but then there are these weird porthole windows that are on each side of the vehicle that let in a little bit more light. You can't open these, but they are an interesting addition. And remember, this car is also available with a third row if you guys go for the 110 version like I'm showing you. So the old Land Rover Defender is still a highly sought after vehicle in America. And if you're looking to buy one of those, they're actually worth a fairly significant amount of money for one that's in good shape with low miles. Now, as you can see, I've switched over to this two-door version, which is a little bit more to the iconic history. This is the one that a lot of the enthusiasts are gonna go for. It's a stunningly beautiful car that will do extremely well against the all-new Jeep Wrangler and the Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon. It just blends in that off-road charm that you want with the British character, and that's what makes the Land Rover Defender such an interesting vehicle. Now, when this car goes on sale in the spring of 2020, Land Rover has already announced pricing. The two-door version, the 90, will start at just over $50,000 for the base model. The four-door 110 that I showed you earlier can top out around $80,000, which is, again, it's a fairly good amount of money. It actually splits the difference between a fully loaded Jeep Wrangler and a Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon. So I imagine when this car does go on sale, it's going to be a really hot addition to the Land Rover lineup, so you better hurry up to your local Land Rover dealer if you guys are looking to purchase one of these. For Redline Reviews at the 2019 LA Auto Show, I'm Sofyan Bey.